Hey folks, Kilt-Man here, Kilt-Man, at your service. And we have another Shocktober horror review for you. What ho! Oh, the MacLeod hunting tartan for your perusal. Jesus. Yeah, so today we're going to discuss 1994's Mike Nichols pseudo horror film with Jack Nicholson. Jack playing to form as a feral lupine alpha male, predatory of nature. Wolf, it's called. 1994. Now, the 90s, I've already discussed two classic reinventions of classic literary horror, and which was Bram Stoker's Dracula in 1992. In the same year as this, 1994, you also had Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. So a return to Gothic splendour. Now, Wolf is set in the modern day, but it was a return to the idea of the werewolf, or the werewolf, as some people erroneously say. No. And but it's a very subtle movie. It's not. It really isn't a horror film until it gets into the final sort of act, and even then, it's a little bit. It gets a bit farcical, and in fact, perhaps the end result, the monstery elements of it, are the least successful. Anyway, it's a film that I do admire greatly, and I really have a great time with it and enjoy it a lot. But it's not the film that many people wanted or expected. Anyway, Mike Nichols and Jack Nicholson have worked together many times before. They were 25-year-long friends by the stage they got to make this. When the script came through, Mike Nichols said, I've never made a horror film. I want to make a horror film. I want to prove myself with special effects. He genuinely wanted to do this because obviously films were bigger and more elaborate and more sophisticated by the time the 90s had swung around. And he'd done dramas like, The Graduate and other stuff which I've forgotten. But he wasn't known for horror. Wesley Strick was brought on board to revise the original script by the great Jim Harrison, who wrote Legends of the Fall and a novel called Wolf, which was basically about man's... Jim Harrison is an American folk lyricist, poet, not a novella writer, and he writes manly stuff about, guys in the wilderness and guys finding their true essence, their animal self. Well, his version was reworked extensively by Wesley Strick, who had worked previously on Batman Returns, and he gave a more sensitive sort of side to it, and made it more about, it was originally, the character that Jack Nicholson plays is a fella called Will Randall. He's a guy who is approaching late middle age, and he's way past his sell-by. He's tired, he's old, he can't fulfill his duties in the sack with his gorgeous wife, played by Kate Nelligan, who was oh my god, it was in Bram Stoker's Dracula. She was in the 1979 version of Dracula for John Badham, with Frank Langella playing the Count. Awesome. She's gorgeous in this too. And she's not upstaged by Michelle Pfeiffer at all, who does play the proper love interest in this. But we'll get on to that. Racing ahead as usual. He's past his sell-by. He's the chief editor in a Manhattan publishing house. And Christopher Plummer, the great and very austere, as always, Christopher Plummer plays the major player, the guy who owns the publishing house. And he wants to move Will away from it all. Now, it's not the cut and thrust world that Will can accept. Will's old school, and he has some loyal writers and authors, but they want to move on. They want to get different markets. And Will has a young protege called Stuart, who is played by James Spader. And James Spader is an absolute slimy worm of a man, a complete and utter fucking toad, an arse-licking, backstabbing bastard supremo. All behind Will's back, he's been trying to get Will's job, trying to get this promotion, trying to boot Will out, and yet to Will's face, he's like, Will, I'll do whatever you want. Will, you're the best. I owe my life to you, Will. And also, to add insult to injury, he's shagging Kate Nelligan. He's shagging Will's missus as well. What? And he does indeed get the job of chief editor. And Will is told, look, there's a job going in Europe. Europe's the big new market. But Will goes, this is, I've been offered a job that I've been offered either no job or a job that nobody would want. And he's kind of cut out there. So the film is all about a man who's lost his way, who then, because of a wolf bite, he's driving back. It starts in the movie. He's driving back down, I think, some Montana roads. Jim Harrison always sets his stuff in Montana, and I think this was a hark back to what he was doing. And there's snow coming down, and he hits an animal. Turns out to be a wolf. Gets out the car to investigate. He's not happy. Doesn't want to do it, like, obviously. But the wolf eye opens, like, and is that your stomach rumbling? And the wolf wakes up, puts a bite on him, and then runs off. But you see it join on the bank of the road a whole pack of wolves who are all like watching Will, and they've all got these really spooky eyes. And this bite, suddenly Will begins to feel a little bit younger. All of a sudden he can proofread without his spectacles. You know, he can hear people talking miles away. He can hear full conversations. He can smell the bourbon on someone's breath, you know, that they supposedly put in their coffee that morning. And he goes, you know, don't tell people you put bourbon in your coffee in the morning. You never had coffee this morning. And the guy's like, how did you know? I can smell it a mile away. And he gets younger. He begins to get more hair. His sight, his hearing, his senses are very, very acute. His animalistic tendencies are coming to the fore. Not only in the boardroom, because once he knows his job is gone and he's been shafted by his protege, he then puts into practice like a fight back. It's a corporate fight back. He gets all the authors that are loyal to him, and he's going to make a new company, get them to join him, and he's going to take a huge chunk of this publishing house's, you know, staff writers and bring them with him, you know, and it'll fucking lay waste to this publishing house. Vengeance is on the cards. And he's also getting pretty good in the sack as well, as Kate Nelligan is like, oh my god, you know, why am I going with this younger guy when you've got more virility now? What was in your breakfast this morning, you know? And have some more. And but the film is not your strictly sort of horror story. Yes, he undergoes a transformation, but it's more about the emotional, psychological transformation. The fact that he's becoming an alpha male again. He's regaining his inner, you know, primal competitiveness. You know, his go for the throat, go for broke sort of attack mode. Be it business, be it whatever. Business, bedroom, back streets, because he will go out in the full moon and he will go prowling. And he takes down a deer at one stage. He also takes the fingers off a would-be mugger as well, which he then finds in his pocket the next day. He's like, whoa! But because of this altercation with the guy that runs, you know, the publishing house, Christopher Plummer, he then forms an assignation with this guy's daughter, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, the ever adorable Michelle Pfeiffer. And although it's not the most believable of relationships, you know, she's looks after animals on the big estate. She's got horses. She lives in like this sort of like cottage further down the ground, this lovely vast estate. And sort of as an insult to her dad, she takes Will under their wing, so to speak. Of course, Will's not going to complain because Will's now found out that his missus has been shagging Stuart. So he kicks her out, or rather he kicks himself out, goes to live in like a hotel in New York. And but he also makes it quite clear to, you know, young Stuart. Stuart goes like, you know, I feel like such a shit what I've done to you. You know, you gave me nothing but your time and your expertise and your expert tuition, and I've just turned around and took your job and your wife. I just, whatever you do, Will, whatever you want me to do, Will, I'll do it. You want me to quit, stop seeing it, I'll do it. And he goes, I want me to quit your job and stop seeing it. And he just goes, you know, I can't do that. Yeah, that's what I thought. I'm gonna get you, Stuart. I'm coming for you. And and it's brilliant. In one famous scene, like they're in the men's toilet, and Stuart comes in and he goes, you know, I really hope you take that job in Europe. And he goes, well, actually, I've got a whole new job. What job's that then? Well, my old job, your job. And he said, what? And he's got the papers all signed up because he's gone in with this deal to Alderman, I think is the Christopher Plummer character, the guy who runs the publishing house, and he said, look, I can fucking vamoose with all your best writers and it'll fucking take you down. And he goes, if I knew you were such a son of a bitch, I'd never have fired you in the first place. So they sign up a new contract and Will gets his job back. So of course, Stuart's not very happy about that. But he just turns and he goes, you fucking bastard. You know, you spiteful, vindictive bastard. And he's going like, no, don't mess with the big boys now. And he turns around and he pisses all over James Spader's fucking, suede brogues. And he goes like, these are suede. And he goes, I'm just marking my territory. You got in the way. And it's this animalistic, predatory nature, but shifted to the business world, the corporate world. In Jim Harrison's original version, Will Randall was going to be a lawyer in a law firm. And Wesley Strick and Mike Nichols both thought, well, hang on a minute, well, lawyers have this reputation for being backstabbing fucking, go for throat animals anyway. They're predatory by nature, they're not loyal, they're beasts just in suits. So well, let's shift it around. Let's make him, a publishing editor, because it gives a whole new slant on it. He's not the aggressive sort of guy from a world that is not known for its business aggression. But the film does bring all that out. He starts staying with Michelle Pfeiffer. She begins to nurse him back to health because he's having a few bad dreams and he's feeling a bit woozy because, the wolf bite of all things, which has gone very hairy. He just trims the hairs down, but his senses are getting better. Doesn't need his gigs anymore. He's enjoying it. He does meet a guru of. They never call it a werewolf in the movie. It's always the wolf, just the wolf in man, the wolf spirit. And he meets the great Indian actor Om Puri, who is unrecognisable in Rick Baker makeup. Probably the most outrageous makeup in the movie is the makeup that Om Puri wears to make him an older man with long, straggly grey hair and lots of facial whiskers and all that, and different eyes. And he's a guy that's, I'm dying, I've got a cancer, but he's an expert on folklore and, superstition. And he knows, he said, Jack, Will, you have the wolf in you. Some people already have the wolf and it just takes the wolf bite to bring it out. So he says, if you're scared of it though, wear this medallion. There's always a little MacGuffin, isn't it? Wear this medallion close to your skin and it will stop you. It will stop the wolf from coming out. It'll be a fight, but it'll stop it coming out. And Will's kind of he's a bit dubious, oh fucking, am I becoming a werewolf? Yeah, right. But he kind of knows that something is going on. So, but this guy says to him, do me one favour, Mr. Randall. Give me your gift. And in a rare moment for Jacko, Wild Jack, he's kind of shifting uncomfortably. He's like, what do you mean? He goes, I want you to bite me. Bite me. Pass your gift on to me. It's all I ask. And he's going I don't think I can bite you. I don't think so. And I think it's okay. Well, maybe you'll think about it. Come back and give me your gift. And because he's saying what's wrong with it? Basically, what's wrong with these new super senses? What's wrong with having this alpha male predatory nature? It's far superior to what you were before. We all want a bit of that kind of confidence and uber, chutzpah, and who doesn't? Fucking hell. My favourite characters of all time, my favourite monster is the werewolf. You'll know I've done innumerable videos on werewolves, and I've always said that my favourite werewolf is the one that walks upright. Sorry, mate, that's American Werewolf. The one that walks upright and has a human face, or a lot of human vestige is still there. Big snout and fangs and lots of hair, pointy ears, but you can still see the human in there, because that's kind of scary to me. Now, they brought in Rick Baker to do the effects for this movie. Rick Baker, of course, created him. He also created the effects for the Howling, although Rob Bottin took over the job and got the accolades for it. But I've covered that before. Let's not rake over old wolf wounds. But of course, then Rick Baker did The Wolfman, 2010. But he'd also done, he'd done wolves and apes. He was a master when it came to fur and hair and fangs. So they brought him in. But Rick Baker said, to be honest, I don't want to go the whole hog again and do the full transformation thing. Can we make this more subtle? Now, when the film first came out, this is what I was initially disappointed by, because I went in wanting a big werewolf spectacular. It is not that at all. Those moments are there. He is becoming a werewolf, although the term is never used. But the hair literally is just, his eyes will take on a feral nature. He gets, Jack Nicholson's balding and he always refuses to wear a fucking toupee. But in the end, they managed to spruce up his hair a little bit more, but he gets, some sideys, his teeth, his lower jaw juts out, fangs are there, his ears move in a wonderful moment when his assistant goes "You're not using your glasses," and he goes, "Yeah," and he's like, "God, yeah, I can see." And he gets up from his desk and he walks into it's the is it the Brubaker building in New York? It's where they filmed Blade Runner as well, and a lot of other movies. But many flaws to it, like gothic old structure. And he goes out to the sort of veranda, and that's when he realises he can hear conversations in that room, in that elevator, on the stairway down there. You can smell things on people's breath. You can smell cologne from a mile away. But in a great little moment, dead subtle but brilliantly done, Rick Baker has a little contraption at the back of Jack Nicholson's head, which, remote control, it moves his ears up and down. So when he hears noises, his ears sort of go and it looks really, really good. And you think, oh God, how did he do that? Can he wiggle his ears as well? It's nothing Jack Nicholson can't do, apart from grow hair on his head. But great little subtle effect. But the rest of it, you might have hairy paws, you might have a few claws, but you don't really focus on them. He runs out, chases a deer, very similar to the dream sequence in American Werewolf in London, where David Norton goes out and takes down a deer and hunts it down and rips it apart. Jacko will do that as well. But one thing that the wolves in this can do is they can leap ridiculously high and ridiculously far. Like, I know wolves can because they've got 4 legs, and the way they're built, they can lope and leap. But in this film, it looks a little bit odd that they can leap 30 foot in the air. He goes to the zoo in New York Central Park, and a young David Schwimmer playing New York Copper tries to because he's disturbing all the animals, and he's already changing subtly. They put the cuffs on him, but he fucking leaps over the bars of this fucking enclosure and then escapes. That's when he takes out the muggers, or one of 3 muggers. Chomps the fingers off him, and so he's got all these skills, but in a neat turnaround. And this is the bit that I love yet hate it at the same time. It becomes a monster showdown. Obviously, Jacko is now with Michelle Pfeiffer. And she loves him. She knows there's something fucking wrong with this guy. But, the sex is great. And it's also sticking the finger up to her dad as well, like her authoritarian fucking tyrant of a dad. And, but when Will realises that James Spader's Stuart's been sleeping with his missus, he finds out that she's there in his apartment, and he runs up the stairs, but Stuart tries to stop him. Will, and he turns around and goes, "Arr," like that, and then he bounds up the stairs like a fucking dog. And but of course, he's now put the bite on Stuart. So Stuart, because he's already, an alpha male, a go-getter, an absolute, twat of a guy with a sort of beast-like animalistic tendency, he assumes the wolf role very, very quickly, and he knows, how good it can be for him. And he begins to change, and he's far less subtle at changing. Although he's got sandy-coloured hair, the effect for him is pretty good, I'll be honest. He's got the wolf eyes are in there, he's got the sideys, the teeth are out, but you see hair growing down the back of his neck as well, sort of rough, coarse hair, and he adopts this sort of his cheekbones get lifted. That's what Rick Baker wanted to do, a lift on Jacko's face to make him look younger. He's meant to look younger, so they tape the skin up around here to make them take the wrinkles out and the saggage. You need a fucking crane to take the saggage out of my fucking jowls, but Jacko refused to do it. But James Spader obviously did, and his cheekbones come up there, and his face becomes more lean, and he does, and he's already got a nose that slightly turns upwards, like a little bit of a snout. So he was like Jacko. He's already halfway there. He's already looks like a human who's got a wolfish in them. Quite clever, really. It was always written for Jack Nicholson, but bringing James Spader in was quite a good move. He plays a smarmy twat really well, and he plays this sexually aggressive, wannabe wolf really well as well. And so when they realise that Kate Nelligan, which is Will's wife, has been killed, and her throat's been torn out, she's been found in the park, and the police are already interested in Will. And Will, of course, he goes out prowling of a night, he can't fucking remember. And he's thinking, shit, I've killed my wife, I've killed her. You know, oh God. So he wants to be locked up. So he puts the amulet on himself, and Michelle Pfeiffer locks him in the horse stables. You've already learned that he's massively disturbing to other animals. So, and she loves her horses. Why the fuck would you put him in the stables, you know, and the horses are going fucking crazy, you know? Don't do that. If he gets that, he's gonna fucking eat your horses. Have a heart, woman. And she goes to the police station to give a statement, which is gonna, in effect, defend Will from any sort of suspicion, because bloody Stuart has put the blame on him, saying, oh, I was having an affair with his wife, and, you know, he was very angry, he said he was going to kill her, you know, really putting the fucking boot in there, or the paw, and but he meets Michelle Pfeiffer there, and, you know, he's so totally unsubtle. You know, in a film where subtlety plays a huge part in the makeup, his actual actions are anything but, because she meets him, like, and you go, aren't you Alderton's daughter? And he's, yeah, we met once or twice, and he's like, this is the fucking police station, and he's got these glowing yellow feral eyes, and he's going, and he puts his head down towards the crotch and has a good sniff, and you're like, fuck off, you know. I know you're uber confident, but you're taking this a bit too far, aren't you, man? He says, you be here when I come out and we'll go for a drink and all that, like, and we'll talk about Will. And she realises, hang on a minute, shit, this guy, he's the killer, and he's like Will, he's a fucking wolf. So she hightails it back to try and look after Will and tell him. But of course, James Spader, Stuart, fucking bombs after it, kills the security guards who protect the estate. Don't go thinking there's anything really gory there, there isn't. That throat goes out, he runs a guy over. And then he comes out the car, and he does look kind of frightening with his sort of fair hair. It's an unusual look for him. The ears are going a little bit more pointy, but he's got this sort of like, it's a scary face. And of course he wants Michelle Pfeiffer, so he chases her into the barn. Poor old Will's got this fucking amulet around him, so he's trying to change, but he's struggling to do so, and he's hitting these bars, he can't get out. And fucking Stuart, he flips Michelle Pfeiffer over, pulls her skirt up, he's going to rear-end her in front of the horses, and in front of Will. He's a right roundy bastard, this guy. And she hits him with her high heels, her stilettos. She hits him with a fucking fire extinguisher. You know, all sorts of fucking shit goes on. Like, in the end, like, fucking Will's going, argh! He wrenches off the amulet, goes full on wolf. Well, he's a lot hairier. His ears are a bit more pointed. His teeth come out even more like that. And he fucking leaps over the bars of this stable. And the two of them have a big smack down. You know, a pitchfork gets wedged into Will. Stuart gets it raked across his face and all that. There's some good stuff in it, like the two of them go fucking snarly, and you hear like James Spader goes ah! As he's actually fucking hurt. And in a great stunt, which actually knocked out the stuntman, Will picks Stuart up and fucking hurls him. And in reality, the guy was on like one of those air ram things, this stuntman. And he goes flying through the air, but he lands on these big flights of concrete steps. And it's the most horrible moment in the film, and it's genuinely real as well. You always think it's going to be, oh, that's a really good dummy that they've used. It's not. That's a stuntman who hits it and goes, Pah! And his neck goes, and he goes, oh, he just crumples. He's blacked out. He straight away knocked himself out, and he crumples down these steps in slow motion. And you go, oh, that's gotta hurt that, and it did. It fucking hurt him. But obviously, you think he's dead, but his eyes open again, like, and Will has turned around. He's now full fucking wolf sort of thing. All the furs around him, and he's got like scratches across his face. Looks really good actually, and Michelle Pfeiffer's there for him, sort of thing. But behind him, Stuart leaps up and does one of these big fucking leaps that wolves are so renowned for. Not. And she pulls out a gun, bang, 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 blows him away. Now the ant silver bullets, that never gets mentioned. And she kills him. Next thing, you know, the two of them sort of like face to face and paw to hand, sort of like, oh, you know, I love you sort of thing. And then he turns around and lopes off into the woods, whereupon he will become a full wolf. And it's not a very good animatronic, given that Rick Baker's one of the best in the market for these things. The actual wolf you only see its face in close up. It's a black wolf. with a black background, so its eyes light up and its fangs are there, and it just leans up and howls. But it's clearly fake. It's very obviously fake. But the little twist at the end, when the police all arrive, the police who've been really shit in this, the two detectives in this, when they first come to interview Will at his apartment, once he's left his missus, and he's with Michelle Pfeiffer, they've been there all night, but he hasn't. He has been out there on the prowl, and they get told that his wife's been killed, but she gives him an alibi, and the detectives go like, well, just want some blood, hair samples because we found them on the body, and and she goes, no way. He's just like, oh my god, I can't believe this, and she's dead, and he's in shock. But Michelle Pfeiffer's fucking, Me Too crowd. She's fucking empowered femininity. She's like, you need a court order for that, and why do you even want it? And you can see he's been with me all night, and the detective just goes, yeah, well, can you come down to the station and give us a statement? Would that be all right? What? You totally cave it in to this woman. To anybody. You're a fucking detective in a murder investigation. No, I want those samples and I want you down there because I suspect you. He just goes, would that be all right? And this guy and his partner turn up at the end, and you've got a security guard lying there on the ground with his throat torn out. Another guy's been hit by a car and run over several times, like crunched up. You've got Stuart, who's now reverted back to human form with 6 bullets in him, And she comes out the cottage, she goes, what's up, I heard gunshots. And everyone, even their dad, is just like, that's my daughter, And no one's like, where's Will? Oh, I believe he booked a flight because she has actually bogusly booked flights for the two of them. And she makes out that he's gone on this flight. You can check that, surely. But in reality, he's run off into the woods as a fucking 4-legged wolf now. And then, in the little twist, you can see it coming. Even from the start of the movie, you can see this coming. And she goes like, what was it like? Why don't you guys just go in a cottage and have a drink, just relax? Have another vodka tonic. And he goes like, another vodka tonic? How does she know I had a vodka tonic? And she's walked away and she goes like, I can smell it on your breath. I can smell it a mile away. And as she walks off with Ennio Morricone's music playing, she walks into the camera shot and her eyes are glowing. So she's a fucking wolf as well, and the two of them are gonna obviously shack up together, out in the wilds, become mates. Now, this is not a horror film. It has horror elements and it does play off a little bit of folklore. But I do like it. I like the corporate aggression. I like the switcheroo from the jaded past his sell-by date, look, you're sitting on the shelf now, mate, you've had your day, to suddenly reasserting himself, getting his youthful vigour back, his animalistic, predatory tendencies, and, the fact that I'm going to fight, and I'm going to fight you, and I'm not going to fight fair, I'm going to take you down. I love that whole switcheroo there. The corporate, sniping angle is what works best. The horror elements are subtle, disparate, and when it comes to the Monster Smackdown, it kind of doesn't really fit. That kind of feels like it's a different film altogether. That the film has finally gone, okay, look, shit, we forgot. We're meant to be making a horror film here. Mike Nichols, you wanted to make a horror film. You wanted werewolves. So you're going to have to show something of their aggression. So you get this smackdown. But at the same side, or the flip side of that, I like the way that James Spader looks as a werewolf. And I think his whole attitude, although I think the sniffing bit in public is a bit too on the nose, on the snout, but you kind of need it though. It could have been worked out a bit better. The script was reworked many times, and they were reworking it, even as he was shooting. But I think another pass at that script would have made the two parts of this film, the corporate side of it, and the werewolf angle, gel a bit better. But I still enjoyed the film. I get quite a nice kick out of it. Once it's played for subtlety and quite darkly humorous, you have a good time with it. Ennio Morricone's soundtrack is, I've got it, but I would have played it, because I always do play the soundtrack if I've got it. I can't find it. Bloody hell. Kilt-Man, things just go fucking missing. They go into the void, the fairy void. Oh, that sounds rude. Never to be seen again. Now, The score is good, it's lush. Morricone did his usual thing. He didn't score to the film, he read the script, he got character dissections, and he worked off themes and ideas. And in his head, the whole thing was meant to be a dream. So instead of playing for like a few shock moments, it's all lush. And Mike Nichols did say, we need a shock moment here. Can you give me a stinger, please? And he said, like, you know, fucking, this is the maestro of all time. Like, and I'm telling him what to do. But it's a nice score. Bit of electronics are in there too. It's lush. There's a few little nightmarish moments to it, but on the whole, it's enjoyable. It plays with the film in question because the film is not, you know, a throat-ripping exercise in, you know, gut-wrenching horror. Anyway, that's Wolf. My God, once again, I've left my drink sitting there. So, folks, there are other, you know, gothic revivals from the 90s, which I may look at some point, but this fulfills the triumvirate. Bram Stoker's Dracula, Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Wolf doesn't fit with that, but it was part of that big sort of reinvigorated, let's go back to classic monsters. And I enjoy it. I have a good time with it. So folks, we're going to leave it there. And I'll be back with more stuff. More bloody stuff. More masks. More fare. More fun. More whiskey.